Yeah. Oh. Hello everybody and welcome on back to another video. I'm your host OT and well, it's quite a big month for me because it's 5 years of being on YouTube and 2 years since Gallifrey Falls, my Doctor Who stop motion, premiered to the world. And at the end of the month, on New Year's Eve, I will be starting off my Doctor Who 8th Doctor multimedia project, which I'm very much excited about. I didn't want to make a big thing of it because, you know, it's just another day and it's just another thing in life, really. To me, this is just a side hobby, you know, it's nothing special, really. I've got a life. I think making stop motions and writing stories is what gives me a purpose. Especially with this 8th Doctor multimedia project that I'm currently writing. It's reignited my passion for the 8th Doctor. Especially writing for the companion, Hakuri. I think she has been the best character that I've ever created. I've put more effort into her than I did into Gallifrey Falls, and that took about a year to make. And reflecting on it now, there was so many things I had to get right for it, or I felt like I had to get right, because I took the original down because it had so many spelling mistakes, and I thought I didn't want to let it lie, so I took a long time to re-edit all of it and re-upload it thereafter, constantly checking for any spelling mistakes. When I look back on that stop motion, I know that it reignited my love for making stop motion films. Because now I have, of course, Transformers and Hero Factory, which is starting to wind back up. I've got a lot of episodes already written down. I've got a lot of ideas, and I think I'm enjoying writing that as well. I think having 3 Autobots in it and more Decepticons, I think works. So then it wouldn't be, Hero Factory wouldn't be too crowded and it wouldn't be too easy for them. Because there's got to be a few challenges along the way, hasn't there? You know, otherwise it'll just be, we win every week, yay! And especially with the Hero Factory characters, I love the fact that I can just upgrade them and modify them as the series goes on. I don't know if you've noticed this, if you've watched the whole thing, but for instance, when I originally upgraded Stringer, I never intended to bring back his quadruple amplifier sound blaster thing that he had in Breakout, nor did I expect to make some modifications to Stormer. I think the best satisfaction while making that those stop motions come from the actual customs themselves, because, you know, when I created Prytek, I didn't want to do anything more to him. You know, I just gave him his shoulder cannon and I made him look like this agile bat-like villain. I felt like it was complete. I've also made some modifications to Shockwave as well, as you may see in the next episode. And there's also going to be a new addition to the Decepticon team. Coming back to Doctor Who for a minute. Oh my god. It just got worse and worse, hasn't it? Like, I was absolutely raging throughout the whole series. There wasn't a single episode that I enjoyed. And all of this was just to spite the fans, you know. And when you spite the fans, they begin to boycott. And when they boycott, you're left out all alone in the cold. You know, the first episode with the robots it angered me. Because we're at this place in culture where we villainise and hate all men unless they fit in with our agenda. And then as we went on to the finale, That is what made me angry. That made me so angry, I thought, I've got to get this multimedia project done. And that anger became my motivation. Like the Sith Lords, you know, if you're a Sith, anger is your best motivation. Which is when I decided to come up with the mindset that Doctor Who cannot be saved. There is no one who can save it. You know, just because one thing is good doesn't mean that, you know, doesn't erase the past 7 years. Now, with my new camera as well, I think that gives me more freedom to go outside and film all these scenes that are set outside, quite frankly. Because one criticism that I would say about my own stop motions is that I film them all in one space, in one room. And that often gives me lack of freedom of setting. Whereas with this camera, I can now go out and film them wherever I may choose to do so. And is it perfect? Absolutely not. But in the end, I think it's given me much more satisfaction than I would if I brought my laptop out and just filmed from there. This is also... We're coming up to the end of 2025 as well, so I want to talk a bit about that. I think personally I've changed quite a lot, become slightly more confident in criticising things. So with my Hetty Feather reviews, those, yes, they do take a long time to make, but I consider that secondary to my primary objective, which is to write stories and make stop motions. And I've loved acting out these mini sketches, which I've included as well. Also, I've taught myself to adhere to standards. You know, a well-disciplined gentleman is a successful one, as well as, you know, be honest. And I think that's what I've learnt most of all this year. Also, for this year, exteriorly, in England, we're a complete waste of shit at the minute. That's just putting it lightly. You know, I'm worried about the future. I'm pessimistic about everything that's coming. You know, I'm gravely worried about digital IDs, and I'm worried about the takedown of free speech. And I've noticed so many changes where I am. And I was in a convenience shop the other day in the city, and there were security cameras on the shelves. And bear in mind, I do watch a lot of videos, you know, talking about this kind of stuff. And I felt scared to go shopping. And that shouldn't be the case, you know. I've got life fatigue in general, you know. I'm tired of being single, you know. I've always wanted a woman, and I haven't had one for many years, and I sometimes feel alone. But then I do remember, and this revelation has dawned on me more recently, is that it's better to have friends who appreciate you and are always there for you, rather than a lover who would berate you. I think that it's harder to be a man than it is to be a woman, because we are constantly vilified and hated, and we're told that we're trash, and that's not how it should be. And I feel that there is more misandry, which means hating men, than misogyny. I think that it would be more logical if the ladies tended to do a bit more within the relationship and in the dating market, because ladies, if you want a man, go up and talk to him, say hi, you know, you make the first move, because not all of us are confident. I've also just started listening to Japanese city pop, which I would say is so much better than anything mainstream. You know, by today's standards at least. I think singers like Anri, Reiko Takahashi, Cindy, Junko Yagamati, you know, they've all got so much more talent than Taylor Swift or any female singer in today's world. I did give K-pop a slight listen to, but yes, the women are quite attractive, but the music is just a bit... It's not my thing, really. I'm fine with sticking with Japanese city pop. We're talking all the old stuff here. Now, from that little diversion to continuing my moaning of life. I also feel as though that there's no more morals anymore within our society. There isn't any within my generation. You know, no one really talks to each other anymore. And I kind of wish we would. I kind of wish we'd all make more effort in speaking to one another. There is just no honour anymore. You know, and honour is one of the biggest things that you can have. And I feel like my generation are very much lost in this field because from what I've witnessed, morals have just gone out of the window. You know, this is mainly occurring in universities. Now, I never went to one. I never desired to go to one. From what I've seen, from most of them look as miserable as sin. And that's just sad to see, you know. I kind of wish that my age group would start talking to each other again and, you know, mix with the older population. The only thing I am looking forward to next year is the release of my 8th Doctor multimedia project and my continuing mission to find a girlfriend, which is never probably going to happen, and it's going to continue on for as long as I live. I know it's going to happen at some point, but, you know, it'll happen when it happens and I'll just have to be patient. And if you have autism, you know that patience isn't a thing with us. I'm also looking forward to making more stop-motion films and writing more stories, because it gives me something to do. You know, I don't like sitting down doing nothing all day. That's not the man I am. You know, I like to do things and get things done. And I'll carry on doing so until I'm really old. You know, I'm never going to give it up. So here's to 5 years of being on this platform. Here's to 2 years of Gallifrey Falls. And here's to next year when the 8th Doctor returns. And it's about time.